English 373, week 2, part 5. Um, this raises, I'm going to just do a little sidebar on Lady Macbeth for a second, because this is, I think, a really important moment to talk about something real important in Shakespeare, and it also works everywhere. There's a question that's been raised by a lot of people, and there's no good answer to it. Everyone has to decide for themselves. And this is something that makes Shakespeare interesting, is you do have to decide for yourself. No one's going to answer this for you. Some people feel like Macbeth is a play that is bad for women, um, because Lady Macbeth and the witches are women, and they're all fucking evil as fuck. And therefore, people go, this play is against women. This is a misogynistic play. This play is about a hatred, displays a hatred for women. Um, I understand why they say it. It is true. The witches are women. Lady Macbeth is a woman, and they're all fucking bad news. And we'll talk more about this when we finish the play, because I have some more to say about this in the closing moments of the play. Um, on the other hand, though, I would argue that this is actually a pro-woman play, in the sense that, oh, and of course, Lady Macbeth isn't going to make it out of this thing alive. But I would argue that this is a pro-woman play because most plays, women aren't this badass. Like, women aren't this, like, Lady Macbeth is amazing. I mean, usually women in these plays, they just like wave in the background and have like 3 lines. Whereas Lady Macbeth is one of the most memorable characters ever created by the greatest writer on earth. Now, yes, she doesn't have a lot to do in the second half of the play and kind of degenerates into madness and suicide. Um, oh, I should have talked about that. I'll talk about that later. I got to talk about the changes the movie makes. I forgot to give that speech. I'll talk about that soon. Um, anyway, I lost. I gotta take. Let me take a note. I'm gonna forget to talk about that. Shit. I should have talked about that like as soon as we started. Sorry, I'm new to teaching online. Um, so women often have very minor roles in these things. They don't have a whole lot to do. But Lady Macbeth is a very powerful, important figure, and I feel like to create such a powerful role, not for a woman, I guess for a man, but of a woman on stage, I think is really cool. And also, like, a lot of times we like the bad guys, like Black Panther. The villain in Black Panther, I mean, I guess we're against him because he's a bad guy and he dies in the end. So, like, I guess that's bad. But, like, I like the bad guy in that movie. Like, that's Marvel's most interesting bad guy, is 100% Killmonger, who, even though he dies, makes a lot of really good points on the way to his death. And I spent a lot of that movie being like, damn, I think Killmonger's actually right about this shit. He's a real smart guy, and he's gorgeous, and he's so gorgeous, and he's cool, and he's really smart. So yes, he dies, and so I guess the movie is in that sense against him. But like, it can't, just to give him, this is such a juicy role. It's the one of the best roles in the entire Marvel universe is Killmonger. Um, so he's completely awesome. In that sense, I feel like we like him, right? Um, it's not as simple as these characters are destroyed and therefore, like, some people be like, Lady Macbeth, dies at the end, and that means the play is anti-woman. Well, Romeo and Juliet die at the end of Romeo and Juliet. I'm not sure the conclusion is that Shakespeare is anti-love. Like, I actually think it's the most pro-love thing he could have done. Romeo and Juliet are famously the most perfect couple in the world because they died young and beautiful. Anyway, don't commit suicide. Don't do that. Okay. Trigger warning: suicide. There's hotlines to help you. Okay, where am I going with this? Oh, back to Lady Macbeth. So, also, let's talk about psychology, because Shakespeare is one of the greatest psychologists ever, and this scene is one of the greatest scenes of Shakespeare's psychology at work in any play ever. It's an equally good moment in Othello where Iago convinces Othello that Othello's wife is cheating on him, but that's a different play. We're not doing that this semester. I have that's in a different class of mine. So her psychology. All she wants to say is, if I promise to do something, I do it. She picks the most bonkers example available, which is, I says, I've had a baby that breastfed. I know how wonderful it is to have a child do that. If I had promised to murder that baby, I would have murdered it. And by the way, she doesn't say murder. She says bash its skull in. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out. had I so sworn as you have done to this, right? You said you were going to kill the king, you got to do it because, you said you were going to kill the king and you got to do it because if I had promised to kill my child, I would have taken its boneless gums. By the way, I don't want to freak you out, but they call boneless gums because the babies don't have teeth. Here's a fucked up thought. Teeth are bones on the outside of your body. It's fucking gross. I don't know. Um, and babies have other teeth that push out those teeth, and then those teeth fall on the floor, and they get new teeth in. It's just fucking disgusting. But Lady Macbeth, I would dash the brains out. Like in my mind, she's holding the baby by the ankles and just smashing the baby against a table, because she is fucking fierce. Oh, I love Lady Macbeth so much. Also, I feel like Lady Macbeth in the movie is quite good. I really like Marion Cotilliard's Lady Macbeth. It's a little strange, but I get it. I get what she's doing, and I really like it. So that's all. So now a couple of things. Most people who read the play, that's the first and only time a baby is mentioned. Where the fuck is that baby? That baby is not in the play anywhere. And the thing you got to understand is back in this period, infant death, very, very common. Modern society sucks in so many ways, and I kind of fucking hate it. We do so much stuff wrong. We don't take care of people, and we invented this nuclear bomb thing that'll fucking murder everybody, and the pandemic is sweeping the land, and everything's terrible. One thing that modern society is extremely good at is keeping babies alive. Back then, people would have a bunch of kids, and many of them would die because you get a disease as a kid, and that's the end of you. You're dead. They had piles of dead babies. We are so good at keeping babies alive that if the baby is born early, it's like a premature baby. We have a special box we can put the baby in. I have a funny story about that box, but we can put the baby in a little plastic glass box and keep it alive for a little while until it gets healthy enough to let it out of the box. Actually, I'll tell that story now. It's one of my favorite little New York stories. It's called an incubator. The guy that invented the incubator, it was like, because in the old days, if a baby was born, say, if baby's supposed to be born at 9 months, but if the baby's born at like 7 months or whatever, it's too early and the baby can't really survive. So this guy invented this box that would keep the baby alive until it was strong enough to come out of the box in case it was a premature baby. Because usually, before that, if you had a premature baby, it would just die. And this guy invented this way to keep it alive. But nobody would invest in his product. And so what he did is the craziest fucking story. I love it so much. He needed money for his invention to show people that it really worked, but he couldn't get any investors. So what he did is he saved women's premature babies for free. And he was like, I'm going to save your premature baby. I'm going to save their life. Put them in this box. And instead of paying him, because these mothers didn't have any money to pay the guy, he said, you gotta let me take your premature baby, because premature babies look weird. They're like too small, and sometimes they're not fully formed, and sometimes they have defects and other kinds of problems. And he said, okay, so I'm gonna save your baby, and in exchange, you are gonna let me take your baby in a glass box, the incubator that keeps the baby alive, to Coney Island, where I'm gonna charge people money to see the baby in a freak show. And that's what he did. And he did it enough that he got enough money to support his invention. And then eventually, all hospitals everywhere now have little incubators invented by this dude. He straight up would put premature babies in a. Oh, God, it's so crazy. I fucking love New York. I got married on Coney Island. I was married. My wedding reception was at the freak show. It was pretty fun. We had a sword swallower. It was great. Okay. So. And my wife, by the way, teaches at BMCC. So you can, she has classes here. Maureen Matarese is her name. What the fuck was I saying? Oh, premature babies. Oh, right. Infant mortality. I was going to do a math thing about infant mortality. You know what? I'm going to pick that up in the next video because I only got like 30 seconds left on this thing. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah.